Transmite en su canal de frecuencia modulada e estereofónica multiplex La Voz Radio, desde New Haven, Connecticut, al mundo.
Buenas tardes. Good afternoon. Mi nombre es Caprice Taylor Méndez. It is a pleasure to be here with you today. I love the sound effects from our producer, William. And once again, here live from New Haven through 103.5 FM, WNHH, La Voz Radio TV.com is our website. And for Facebook, we're also live on Facebook at La Voz Hispana de Connecticut. And so thank you for listening every Monday from 3 to 4 p.m. And we have a special treat for you today, an artist. Hoy vamos a hablar con una creadora de arte, una autora de libros, ficción, una combinación única de romance, ficción y sobre el tema climático y utilizando información que nos puede entender mejor nuestro mundo. Y estos ingredientes hace nuestra autora Tara L. Raúl. Ay, no lo pronuncié bien, pero me lo va a decir en inglés mejor. Tenemos con ella hoy una conversación sobre su último libro que acaba de salir en las prensas aquí desde New Haven. Welcome, Tara L. I'm going to mispronounce your last name. Roy, thank you.
Es mucho gusto. No, oh my God, I'm not even going to try the Spanish. But it's so great to be here with you. And thank you, everyone, for tolerating my English. And I probably will. Actually, I lied. I'll probably try the Spanish at various points and butcher it. So forgive me.
Well, I commend you automatically ahead of time for attempting to speak another language. It's not an easy thing, right? And practice is the only way that it becomes perfect. When we are too shy and afraid of trying, that's when we won't learn the beautiful way of engaging the tongue in a different way and speaking another language. And so I commend you for your fearlessness, Miss Tara. And in Spanish, I introduced you as a very unique author. One of the reasons why love the fact that you're here in the show is a beautiful combination of ingredients that makes your books very special. Not only is it steamy romance fiction, as you say, glacier melting romance, but it's also intellectual and also giving information around climate, how to coexist with the earth in a different way. And you actually share information, data, real facts in some of these books. The relationships are fictitious, but there's some real facts that you share in these books. And so you're educating and informing, but more importantly, entertaining people. And boy, do we need healthy escape routes in our daily lives. So if we move off of the TV box, that 4-square computer or TV monitors, they're as big as a wall. Nothing, though, is as big as the imagination. Human creativity is limitless. And so thank you for tapping into that beautiful creativity. So we'll go a little bit as well into the creative process. What does that do for you? But tell us, what is the name of this hot off the press book?
Well, the name of the book is Haven, and it's the first book in the Love and Disaster trilogy. And as the title implies, it actually takes place mostly in our fair city of New Haven. Just a little fun aside, I just got back from New Orleans, where I spent 9 days researching for book 2 in the Love and Disaster trilogy. So this is a very active project. And as you said, Caprice, each book is very thoroughly researched and includes a lot of real information, real science. Actually, on my website, taralroy.com, I have a blog called the Real Steamy Science blog. And it covers anything that I can think of that relates to the science behind the book, whether that science is having to do with agricultural chemicals that are spilling into the Mississippi River or leaching into the Mississippi River and then creating the toxic situations in the Gulf of Mexico known as the dead zone, or whether or not it's possible to improve one's sex life by doing yoga. All of these things are science, and they all relate to my book. So the characters are fictional, but the stories or the science behind them is real. And this story features a photojournalist turned visual artist who meets an epidemiologist. And what connects them is that they're both really passionate about environmental issues and health. And so in this sense, this is a somewhat autobiographical book because that's how I feel. I mean, I'm not a scientist. I'm an artist. I'm a writer. I call myself a multimedia activist. But I'm passionate about love, and I'm passionate about people thriving. So when I look at the problems that people face because of climate change, I see really there's only one solution, and that's to work to reduce climate change. Because otherwise, all these issues that are exacerbated by poverty, exacerbated by, pandemic, exacerbated by a variety of things, they really all tie into climate injustice. So if through a really fun, spicy, entertaining book with fun characters, engaging characters, if through reading their stories or their love story, you also gain a deeper understanding of one aspect of what's happening with our world and climate injustice, then I think, that's a win. It's called the Love and Disaster trilogy because each book features a big disaster. And I don't know, do you know Esther Perel? Have you ever listened to Esther Perel or watched?
No.
So she is a relationship therapist, and she's got like a podcast, and she's given TED Talks, and because I write romance and because I'm passionate about love, I listen to and read all these things about the science and the psychology behind love. One of the interesting things that she said at the beginning of the pandemic was that when people are in disastrous situations, very often they become sexually aroused. So I was like, well, that's perfect because I'm writing romance novels. So it's not weird that in the middle of a climate disaster that occurs in this book and will in the 2 following in the trilogy, that the characters would be having fun in the bedroom.
Wow. So I need to translate all this steamy stuff that you just shared.
Oh, sorry. I can go on and on. So you should really just stop me at the moment whenever you need to.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Tara L. How do I pronounce? Roy. Roy. Ella es una persona apasionada con creatividad, con el tema climático, con el tema de amor. Y ha empezado a publicar 3 libros sobre el tema de romance y desastres. Y está tomando el camino de personajes súper interesantes y apasionados también. Y de allí estos 3 libros son sobre estos personajes y a ella le encanta el proceso de creatividad y en este primer libro se llama Haven y como lo pueden adivinar, estos 3 libros ocurren acá basados en New Haven. Y el primer libro, Haven, introduce los protagonistas, una persona que trabaja para un periódico como fotógrafa y otro científico sobre la ciencia de enfermedades. Y es un poco basado sobre la vida real de la autora Tara. Y ella reconoce de que puede introducir información científica, datos, importante información para poder entender nuestro mundo y cómo mejorar nuestra convivencia en este mundo. Y de allí da a reconocer los problemas, injusticias ambientales que enfrentamos como seres humanos. Y en este momento, nosotros estamos pasando por una pandemia, un desastre ambiental. Y otro tema que le interesa a Tara L. Rui es sobre la ciencia de amor. Hay más y más estudios sobre la ciencia de amor, especialmente hay una terapista que tiene un programa por podcast, ella se llama Esther Perel, y ella habla mucho sobre la ciencia de amor y Tara adopta esos conceptos en lo que está escribiendo. Por ejemplo, en momentos de desastre a nivel global, como estamos pasando en este momento, aumenta el deseo sexual en la humanidad. Y por eso su libro empieza en el primer capítulo con relaciones íntimas entre los 2 protagonistas, el científico y la artista fotógrafa, en este libro que se llama Haven. This is so fascinating, and so you're actually taking scientific fact and playing it out in fiction as well. So this is the world we live in, but let me bring you into this world filled with passion, as you say, glacier melting.
Right. The world is hot, but my books are hotter. That's what I like to say.
Nice. Ella dice que el mundo se está acalentando, pero sus libros son más calientes. Mm-hmm. And so if folks are interested in getting their hands on with gloves, of course, on this hot book, how can they go about getting it?
Well, they can go to my website, which is taralroy.com. They can also find me on Instagram, and there's a link in my bio that offers, not only where you can buy the book, but also how you can borrow it from your library. Also, it's just been released 2 weeks ago. It was released on the Kiss app. So I don't know if you're familiar with that.
No, say more.
Kiss it's like, it sounds KISS app, and it's a smartphone app where you can read romance novels, and it's like a pay as you go kind of thing. So you get the first 3 chapters for free, and then if you want to keep reading, you just pay per chapter, but it's like you buy the coins in advance. So in terms of the expense versus like buying the book at Amazon or IndieBound or whatever, It's about the same, but it's a different reading experience. I find it really enjoyable because, I might not want to carry an actual physical book with me everywhere, but I pretty much always have my phone. So if I'm in a grocery store line or some frustrating situation where I have to wait, I can just open up the Kiss app and start reading whatever romance novel I'm in the middle of. And it's really fun and easy. So anyone who has a smartphone, that's an option.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That sounds beautiful. Si uno está interesado en los libros de Tara L. Rui, ella tiene una página por el internet, tarallroi.com, y ahí pueden encontrar y comprar sus libros. Y también uno lo puede encontrar en una aplicación para teléfonos que se llama Kiss, que es beso. Kiss App, la aplicación beso, Kiss App. Y de ahí es bien bonito porque uno puede ser que no quiere y no puede comprar el libro completo sin saber si uno le va a gustar, a gastar ese dinero en un libro que tal vez no lo va a terminar. Pero con el Kiss App, uno paga de acuerdo de lo que uno está leyendo. Es decir, uno no paga completamente el libro completo, pero paga por porciones. Y detrás del Kiss App, ahí pueden encontrar Haven, el libro más reciente de la autora tarallrui.com. Es su página del internet. Yes, and so you're saying...
Yes, so actually, just as an aside, pienso que eso es importante decir que I would love to have the book available in Spanish, pero no, I don't write in Spanish. Clearly, I barely speak it. And because I am an indie author, meaning I have my own publishing company, B Books, and therefore I'm responsible for publishing all the books, I need to find a translator, and I've been looking for one. So I haven't found one. But if anyone listening knows a book translator or is a translator, then please reach out. You can reach out to me through my website, because I would really love to make Haven available in Spanish. I would love to make my first book, For the Birds, available in Spanish as well, and all of my subsequent books. I think it's very unfortunate that the Spanish-speaking audience is not able to access the books in the preferred language right now.
Thank you for that. And I'll make sure I translate it. Tara dice, yo primero quiero dar disculpas. En este momento, desafortunadamente, no he logrado poder traducir los libros, los dos que ha publicado. Ella tiene su propia compañía de publicación que se llama B Publicadores. Es decir, no tiene los recursos como las casas grandes de publicación. Ya tiene que hacerlo todo, y en este momento quiere dar la bienvenida, invitación para los quienes están escuchando. Si saben traducir libros de inglés a español, está buscando a alguien para poder trabajar con ellos de largo plazo, porque va a publicar más libros y tiene ya 2 libros, y quiere poder trabajar con alguien que pueden traducir libros de romance con términos científicos, especialmente sobre el medio ambiente, y ser entretenidos, poder entretener a la gente con estas traducciones. Y pueden comunicarse con ella directamente en su página del internet, es tarallroi.com. Si les interesa poder apoyar en traducir estos 2 libros más otros y trabajar con ella de largo plazo. And so thank you. Mil gracias por atentar de hablar el español. Tara dice, obviamente, no puedo hablar muy bien, no puedo traducir el idioma, pero sí, parece que estás practicando el español y estás aprendiendo el español. Mil gracias. Y puntos científicos interesantes, así por ejemplo, que han hecho estudios que prueba de que la vida íntima de uno mejora en practicar el yoga, el ejercicio yoga que también aumenta, mejora la vida íntima de uno. Y esos son datos, información científicos que Tara le gusta compartir con la audiencia que están leyendo sus libros. Y del otro lado de la situación climática, y es lamentablemente de que ocurre que con el proceso agricultural aquí en los Estados Unidos, los desechos de esos procesos están entrando al mar, especialmente por la costa de México, y hay tóxicos. Entonces, por ejemplo, estos temas son temas que están dentro de la historia de los cuentos que nos cuenta la artista Tara. So I just reemphasized the unique combination of science, romance, learning facts, including hot facts like your love life improves with practicing yoga, and then the climate facts, understanding the impacts of the way we as a society agreed upon to live in this world, but the impacts that it has environmentally, at the same time with the steamy romance that takes place.
So
this is.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So, what genre would you consider yourself? A romance novel?
It's romance and the subgenre. I mean, romance has a lot of some subgenres. So first of all, it's contemporary romance. These books occur in the general present. This one takes place in 2019. Actually, so do the other two in the series, mainly because I don't want to deal with the pandemic. And after I finish the series, I'll be skipping ahead to future years. But so basically, it's contemporary romance. I call this glacier melting romance. That's the subgenre that I have created. But it's also rom-com. I mean, as much as I'm addressing issues that are serious and disasters, I also infuse the books with a lot of humor. I just think that's more fun. It's more fun to write. It's more fun to read. And so then each book kind of has its own like secondary, or the tertiary subgenre, but basically it's romance, it's contemporary romance, and it's glacier melting romance. So, I mean, for example, with Haven, Sage, the heroine, and Wesley, the hero, meet at an acro yoga class, and sparks fly. They're right off the bat. They both feel something, and that's a little weird for them. So when she leaves the class, she finds herself fantasizing about him, and he's convinced that he's just seen his future wife. But by the time she gets home, the yoga instructor calls her to warn her that Wesley is like a tornado when it comes to women. He sweeps in, destroys the territory, and leaves. Now, Sage has already, she now wants to be interviewing Wesley because of the work that he does, and she sees that, that could connect with the art show that she's working on, but she's trying to shut down her interest in him. So the big question is, can Sage get past the rumors to see the man behind the path of broken hearts? And
hold that thought.
Yeah.
Hold that thought. We must translate.
Okay.
Por ejemplo, le pregunté cuál es la categoría de sus libros de romance, porque hay muchas categorías también sobre romance de ficción. Y me dijo de que ella dice que es contemporáneo, que ocurre en este tiempo. Todos sus libros ocurren en este tiempo, en esta época. Y 2019 es el año de Haven, escrito acá en New Haven y tomando el tiempo, lo que ocurre en 2019 y va de un solo borrar estos años de la pandemia. Los próximos libros no van a ocurrir en estos años de la pandemia porque es un escape para la gente, un escape importante. Y otro punto es de que, por ejemplo, este libro Haven que ocurre aquí en New Haven, los dos protagonistas, la artista fotógrafa que se llama Sage y o en español Salve, la planta que cura. Y ella va a una clase de yoga y es una clase diferente de yoga que se llama acro yoga, que se toma posiciones en el aire también. Uno está practicando acro yoga con una sábana colgando desde el cielo y uno sabe cómo colgarse mientras está practicando las posiciones de yoga y ese es el nombre de acro yoga. Y fíjense que sí existe clases de acro yoga aquí en New Haven. Entonces esa parte de ficción, hay cosas, información bien interesante de otros mundos de personas que están conviviendo con uno en la misma ciudad, pero el mundo de ellos es tan diferente. Por ejemplo, practicando acro yoga, colgándose del techo con sábanas o también con tubos, círculos. Y el libro entra en estos mundos y es fascinante para mí. Y simplemente si uno no tiene tiempo para sentarse ahí a leer un libro, Tara dice, por ejemplo, teniendo la aplicación Kiss, uno puede leer mientras está esperando para poder pagar sus compras en el súper o está esperando en fila para otra cosa. Ahí puede sacar su teléfono y seguir leyendo el cuento que estaban leyendo. Y esto es un cuento que van a querer empezar a leer desde el principio al final, porque cada uno de nosotros necesitamos algo para poder escapar de problemas y noticias, viendo más problemas. Esto es algo sano para poder leer un libro y ser entretenidos también. Y más que todo, si están aprendiendo el inglés, esto sería un tema interesante para poder leer en inglés y practicar el inglés. Pero sí, estamos esperando atentamente para la traducción en español. Ya vamos a regresar después de esta breve pausa más con Tara y vamos a hablar sobre el proceso de creatividad. Entonces no cambien, porque aquí celebramos co-creadores de un mundo más justo y más gentil. Estamos aprendiendo en cómo mejorar nuestra relación con el medio ambiente y entretenidos a la misma vez con un romance apasionado aquí de New Haven. Vamos a regresar en 5 minutos. We'll be right back after this 5-minute break. Thank you so much, Tara. We're going to hear more from our unique author from New Haven, Taking Shape. And so really quickly, one thing is, it really opens up a window to another life. Acro yoga is available in New Haven. There are acro yoga classes, but how many of the listeners actually took a class in acro yoga? Diving into this fiction book, you get to experience it and might even find something that you're interested in exploring. So we'll be right back with Tara.
La Voz Hispana de Connecticut, el único periódico que cubre las noticias locales de todas las ciudades del estado. Noticias que tienen que ver con el quehacer político, educativo, económico y social de la comunidad hispana de Connecticut. Los mejores articulistas y reporteros, el mejor contenido editorial. La Voz Hispana, la voz de todos, la voz del pueblo.
Te contamos cómo el cambio climático está determinando el nuevo urbanismo en tu mundo verde. El cambio climático está haciendo que las ciudades sean más susceptibles a las inundaciones. Un estudio de 2019 indica que los niveles globales del mar podrían aumentar hasta 2 metros a lo largo del siglo y para 2100 al menos 190 millones de personas podrían estar viviendo en áreas por debajo de la línea proyectada de marea alta. Una investigación separada concluyó que si el mundo no hace nada para mitigar el aumento del nivel del mar, las inundaciones costeras podrían causar daños por valor de hasta 20% del Producto Interno Bruto Mundial para el 2100. La amenaza de inundaciones está cambiando la forma en que se construyen las ciudades y los arquitectos están adaptando sus diseños a una nueva realidad climática. Utilizando materiales sostenibles y técnicas innovadoras, estos diseños de todo el mundo podrían ser cada vez más importantes en un futuro en el que las inundaciones podrían ser generalizadas. Marisabel Houston, CNN, Atlanta.
WNHH 103.5, la voz hispana de Connecticut.
And thank you for being with us today. We have a beautiful romance novel that we're talking about, Haven, great escapism from today's troubles and worlds, and getting right into a passionate story of Wesley and Sage. And will Wesley get the woman of his dreams? Will Sage be able to overcome the rumor mill and warning her that Wesley's a tornado? So that's where we cut off.
Yeah.
Will you tell us how this ends?
Of course not. Of course, if you know the romance genre, you might have a clue, but yeah, those questions are, can Sage get past the rumors to see the man behind the path of broken hearts? Can Wesley drop his facade long enough to explore the love he believes is possible with Sage? When work and disaster bring them together, it seems they are destined for union. But can love born in a tornado survive?
Wow. Pues Tara nos acaba de contar que este libro Haven, los protagonistas, Wesley, el momento que pone los ojos sobre Sage en la clase de acro yoga, de allí se da cuenta que esa es la mujer que quiero pasar el resto de mi vida con ella, me quiero casar con ella. Pero de allí Sage, al regresar de su clase de acro yoga a su casa, encontró un mensaje de su amigo, el instructor de acro yoga, que le dejó un mensaje después de la clase porque vio que hubo química con Sage, entre Sage y Wesley, y él quiso advertir a su amiga Sage que no esté en una relación con Wesley, porque Wesley lo conocen como un tornado. En cualquier relación, él siempre deja un desastre. Cambia de una manera desastrosa la vida de su amor. Y de ahí el amigo de Sage quiso prevenir esos problemas a su amiga, decirle que no debe de comunicarse con Wesley, pero la vida y su rumbo tuvieron un proyecto en común. Ella es fotógrafa y estaba buscando fotos, información para su nueva exhibición sobre el tema de enfermedades que son impactados por el medio ambiente, y Wesley es el experto, uno de los expertos a nivel nacional, y obviamente tuvo que entrevistarlo y trabajar con él. Y allí empieza este romance que no van a poder dejar el libro en la mesa.
This is a story that's of New Haven. It's in New Haven. It's of New Haven. So you'll recognize some places, and others will be new to you. You know, it's there's one of the early scenes is on Chapel Street. It's in an acro yoga class. It's in Lighthouse Point Park. It's in Edgerton Park. It's down Whaley Avenue. It's all over the city. So wherever you spend time, you are likely to recognize some of the places. And I don't try to, bring real people into this book, although I do mention Neville Wisdom, but he other than Sage mentioning his name, that's it. He's not actually in the book, but you'll definitely get a sense for like the places, and some I use the real names of them, and some I change the names. But yeah, it's a story that is New Haven in many ways.
Y en este libro van a poder
And the beauty, the good and the bad.
En este libro van a poder acompañar a los protagonistas viviendo sus vidas aquí dentro de esta ciudad querida, New Haven. Van a reconocer nombres de calles, nombres de negocios, y sí, cambió los nombres de otras personas que aparecen en el libro, pero hay un nombre que ella mantuvo, pero no toma ninguna rol especial en el libro. Nomás se nombra a la persona Neville Wisdom, que es un diseñador de ropa acá basado en New Haven, famoso también, y ella lo nombra en el libro, y de ahí pueden pasar el tiempo pasando por las calles de New Haven con estos protagonistas, y aseguro hay partes de New Haven que no han visitado, y ahí pueden conocerlo detrás de este libro. Y sí, hay la belleza de New Haven, hay escenarios así, por ejemplo, en el parque de Edgerton Park, el Lighthouse por la playa, lugares bonitos que uno puede reconocer, y también partes de New Haven que hay peligro, partes de New Haven que uno no se va a querer encontrar a medianoche en ciertas calles. Entonces, van a encontrar toda esta información en este libro. And the interesting part is the break, the CNN. It was actually just 3 minutes. It was a 3-minute CNN commercial from Atlanta CNN, and the person who spoke shared information about research in 2019 indicating that many urban centers in the United States, if we do not mitigate the issue around climate change, there's a projection of in 2100 that hundreds, thousands of people will be living in coastal areas that are flooded. And 20% of the economy, our production rate will suffer because of these coastal projected floods. And at this time, architects are looking for sustainable ways to mitigate the harm that these floods would cause, supporting creating structures, a new way of designing structures, And so this is an important aspect to keep in mind. And so it reminds me of your books.
Absolutely. Caprice, the part of the reason that the next book in the trilogy is set mostly in New Orleans is because when I was at a conference a couple of years ago, I learned about America's first climate refugees who are from Ile-de-Jean-Charles, Louisiana. And I drove out there and it felt like driving to the end of the world. And this was not even 2 weeks ago that I drove out, and the land is maybe 60 feet wide, maybe 40 feet, homes on either side. Most of them that are still standing are elevated 6 to 12 or more feet above ground. There are some that are not elevated, which is terrifying, because if you consider the reason the homes are elevated is that the land has been disappearing due to climate change, which is causing sea level rise, and subsidence, which is the land is sinking. So the combination of the land sinking and the sea level rising is making the Ile-de-Jean-Charles actually disappear. And so there are only 40 families remaining on this strip of land. I saw as many destroyed homes as I saw homes standing. And then the reason that it's scary to think about the homes standing that are flush on the ground is undoubtedly each of those homes has been flooded and not had the chance to dry out. And if it's not drying out, it's developing black mold. And black mold causes permanent lung damage and permanent brain damage. So, and I have asthma because I lived in an apartment where I had black mold and did not realize it. So, and I was totally fine before that. And I'm otherwise a quite healthy person. But so this is just one small issue, but the conference that I attended, people were talking about, trying to plan to get the residents of Ile-de-Jean-Charles out and somewhere safe. And some of the people don't want to go because this has been their home, their family's home for hundreds of years, because they've lived off of crawfish fishing and lobster fishing and whatever. They don't want to move where there isn't water right there, but their home is no longer safe.
And so you just came back from that. I want to hear more about that. Hace 2 semanas, Tara manejó a Luisiana, un estado a la costa sur de los Estados Unidos, para su próximo libro, que tomando el tema que acabamos de escuchar de CNN de Atlanta sobre inundaciones costales, ella fue a Luisiana para ver lamentablemente cómo ha impactado la situación climática con el aumento, elevación del océano. Pero también Tara acaba de ver de que no solamente es el océano eliminando las costas y el agua siendo más alto, pero también la propia tierra se está inundando. Es decir, hay casas, ella dice que observó más casas destruidas que estando ahí presentes, las fundaciones debajo del agua, los techos debajo del agua, y las únicas casas paradas literalmente estaban paradas sobre madera, como en Guatemala, en Centroamérica, se habían encontrado muchas casas así construidas por los ríos. No sé el nombre de esa estructura de casa donde se ponen 4 columnas y sobre esas 4 columnas o más columnas está ubicada las casas y esas fueron las únicas casas que pudo ver todavía paradas. Acaba de regresar hace 2 semanas atrás, y estas calles, área residencial, eran bien pequeñas, como 60 pies por 40 pies, y el gobierno está tratando de convencer a las familias, los residentes, para que se vayan, para que se ubiquen en otro sitio porque ya no es seguro. No solamente es el daño de las aguas, pero aguas negras y de allí el molde. Si las casas no han podido secarse bien, puede crear molde y el molde propio, molde negro, puede causar problemas cerebrales, y también es muy dañino para los pulmones permanente. Puede causar, por ejemplo, Tara dice que ella no supo que estaba viviendo en un sitio que tenía molde negro y le dio asma por vida. Entonces ella misma sufre por asma, por este molde negro, y las personas, los residentes de esta parte de Luisiana, no se quieren ir porque han vivido ahí por generaciones y también muchos de ellos son pescadores. Le gustan pescar langostas o otros pescados y así han podido sobrevivir por generaciones y no se quieren mover de allí, no se quieren mover muy fuera del mar. Y esto ha causado muchas personas de Luisiana también que se tuvieron que migrar a otro estado, porque la vida ya no es posible. Y con lo que escuchamos con CNN, eso puede ser una realidad para muchas personas viviendo en las costas y hay personas viviendo aquí en New Haven en las costas también. And so that research that you did, how is it going to serve into your next book?
Well, I don't want to give too much away, but people who experience disasters, maybe in the midst of it, you get a little aroused, but then there's an aftermath, an emotional aftermath, and that it can be very traumatizing. So the heroine of the next book is a social worker, not a government social worker. She's a therapist who works with children and families who have been traumatized by climate events and by disasters.
And there are a lot of people in the community that can relate to that, especially from Puerto Rico, having to have moved here. And for us as a community to understand the implications, the trauma, what are people facing? Because if we haven't lived it, you could get really good fiction with passionate romance to also educate oneself on what are the possibilities for people who have lived through climate change disasters, right? But also get entertained. What a beautiful recipe you have going on here.
It's a sad thing, but I am glad that you mentioned Puerto Rico because I was there 6 months after Hurricane Maria, and I had never been in a place that had experienced a major devastating storm like that. And I had certainly heard that things weren't back to normal, but it didn't really hit until we drove out of San Juan and went toward El Yunque National Rainforest. And on that drive, I was like, what is up with these streets? Why are the stop signs just like hanging? Why are there wires everywhere? And then all of a sudden it dawned on me like, oh, they just haven't been able to fix this. And then when we actually got into the rainforest and we were staying at the one open B&B there, which was the only place on the whole street that had electricity because they had just had solar panels installed like the week before, that was also like, oh, there's a family gathering water from a stream in the hillside. Wow, like it hadn't. And I was writing about climate change as a journalist for years before that. I had heard all sorts of stories. It wasn't the same as seeing it, but those kinds of things do show up in my books. That's why I try and go to places to do the research so that I can be there and feel what it's like and actually see it. Hearing about Ile de Jean Charles was not the same as driving to it and thinking like, wow, the road just ends. And there's 3 houses and there's like marsh. And if I didn't know what I was looking at, I might just think, oh, that's pretty. But because I knew what I was looking at, it had a very different feeling. It wasn't like going to the beach because the land ends there too. This is not the same, you know?
Que Tara dice de que ella le gusta poder explorar y ver directamente en persona los temas de su libro sobre los temas climáticos. Por ejemplo, por eso fue a Luisiana, el de Jean Charles, Luisiana, se llama el pueblo donde ella fue en Luisiana, para observar. Y también hace 6 meses atrás logró poder ver directamente del huracán María, que todavía hace 6 meses atrás se puede observar en Puerto Rico, en la isla. Ella dice que se recuerda manejando, yendo a la dirección del Parque Nacional El Yunque, y ahí mismo observó de que la parada, el señal para parar el tráfico estaba colgando. Todavía había líneas eléctricas colgando, y de ahí se puso a pensar, oh, esto fue por el huracán María que ocurrió en el pasado, pero es todavía recién que uno está viendo el sufrimiento de las personas, inclusive vio familias tratando de conseguir agua de un río para su hogar. Eso está ocurriendo hoy en día todavía en Puerto Rico, que no han podido reestablecerse. Todavía necesitan mucho trabajo para regresar a la vida antes de María. And the reality is there's so many people, it seems like almost every other year or 2 years, there's a disastrous hurricane in Central America, mudslides along the coast of Latin America, including South America. And so climate change, it's, I think, 2 shows prior, I talked about extreme heat, but there are also extreme droughts that are forcing people to move into the United States. And so thank you for educating us from an entertainment point of view, from the heart and the mind, but also getting us to understand just a little bit of what it is that other folks are experiencing, including in our very own United States and its territories, but in a very entertaining way.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is a gift that you're providing. And romance novels. Look out. What was his name? Fabio?
Yeah.
Because here comes Wesley. que yo sé que en la comunidad latina hay personas que han leído de un personaje, libros de romance. El personaje se llama Fabio. Pero de ahí, ahora Fabio se tiene que cuidar porque aquí ahora entra Wesley. Y para los quienes le gustan novelas, estos libros son como novelas, pero educativas también. Yeah, so I hope someone is listening and they can partner up with you and support with the translation, because the Spanish-speaking market, we love good romance stories. In fact, our soap operas are not just, a few chapters, one day a week. No, they're daily episodes that leads to an ending, sometimes predictable, but still the journey is the entertainment, the beautiful part. And now you're adding this whole avenue of making us be better humans by understanding a little bit more about climate.
Yeah, thank you. And I mean, it's really, I feel it's my soul's calling. But part of the reason for me to write romance, because I could choose mystery, I could choose another genre, but personally, I love a happy ending, and romance readers count on a happy ending. So this way, like, I may bring you through some very tense moments, but in the end, you will feel that satisfaction of knowing that love wins.
And what's the name of the first book again?
The first book is called For the Birds. This one does not have a weather disaster, but it does have a very scary event, and it's about a single mom who's just graduating for the second time from college. She's taking a second chance at life, at pursuing the career of her dreams. She's got a 5-year-old son, and the career of her dreams is in wildlife biology. And
so we get to learn about birds too.
That's right.
About her lovebird story and about birds.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So it's a really fun story, and I have to say I had so much fun writing the little boy in that book, Teddy.
Y su primer libro se llama Para los pájaros, y la protagonista es una mujer, mamá soltera con un niño que se llama Teddy, de 5 años de edad, trabajadora. Pues ella se ingresa de nuevo por la segunda vez en la universidad para cambiar el rumbo de su vida y poder dirigirse a una carrera que del alma, y de ahí es un cuento de su vida romántica, su vida romántica, y de ahí ella está estudiando la ciencia de pájaros, cómo cuidar a los pájaros, la biología de pájaros y la ambiental de los pájaros, y de ahí uno va a aprender también más sobre el tema de pájaros y más sobre el tema de amor. Y categoría de libros, romance, las personas que le gustan romance siempre le gustan cuento que termina en una celebración, que termina en un punto feliz, y Tara LaRoe completa esa promesa para los quienes le encantan romance. Siempre termina en una nota positiva. Y mil gracias por estar con nosotros, Tara. Y por favor, si hay alguien que está interesado en trabajar con ella, en traducir estos libros en español, se pueden comunicar detrás de su página web, taralroi.com. Thank you for coming to the show and sharing with us. And so how can people reach you and buy your books again?
Sure. So my website is a great place to stop by. You can get on my mailing list there. You can buy my books right through my website. You can also find me on Instagram and on Twitter, although I'm not as active on Twitter. You can buy the books through my website, at Amazon, at IndieBound. You can borrow them from your local library. Again, the links there are both on my Instagram page and on my website. And now you can get Haven on the Kiss app. Eventually all my books will be there, but right now it's Haven. So, and I should mention, on June 4th, I will be doing a live reading on Kiss app's Instagram feed of Haven. So if you want to hear me read this book, not the whole thing, read from this book live, then join us at 3 p.m. on Instagram, and you can just come to my Instagram feed for info on that.
Excellent. And so thank you so much, Tara, for being with us. Y pueden seguirla también por Instagram. Y el 4 de junio va a estar leyendo el nuevo libro Haven en vivo a las 3 p.m. el 4 de junio. Gracias, mil gracias todos por estar escuchando. And thank you so much, Tara, for your art and birthing this beautiful new genre, glacier melting into this world. Have a beautiful day, folks. And may only glacier melting romance exist and glaciers no longer melt.
Yes. Absolutely. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to spend this time with you, Caprice, and with everyone watching.